Hi, it's Ramsey Dewey with the JX Fight Club in Shanghai, China, and we have a question from our friend Black Omega, who asks a two-part question. First, about traditional martial arts. With the rising popularity of mixed martial arts, showing that, it's as real as it gets, does traditional martial arts still have a place in the world of martial arts today? Or is it outdated? Has it run its time? And the second part of the question is, what advantages, if any, does training in traditional martial arts have that training in mixed martial arts does not? I'm going to answer the second part of that question first. What advantages does training in traditional martial arts have that MMA training does not offer? And I'll tell you, it is the structure. Traditional martial arts is extremely structured for the most part. Okay, if you go to a karate class, you learn very specific forms and whatnot. You learn a very specific syllabus of movement. If you go to a Wing Chun class, you learn all this movement that is expressed to that syllabus of movement. Why is that important? I would say it's kind of like taking your vitamins or however you want to pronounce that word. My mother's English. I grew up in America. I always said vitamin, and the kids at school made fun of me and beat me up for it. Anyway, it's a lot like Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Now, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is very popular with mixed martial artists today. It's how most mixed martial artists learn to grapple, through the medium of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. But I'm going to tell you, there's a lot about Brazilian Jiu Jitsu that's just absolute garbage for mixed martial arts. And one of the big parts is the uniform. It's like gi, because it has no place in the sport of MMA. Now, what's valuable about that is the contrast. A lot of people will say, gis are great, gis make your grappling better. And I don't believe that, but I do believe that the contrast is valuable. The contrast between the friction and no friction, and all the extra grips and none of the extra grips, all the extra weapons and techniques you can do versus not having them and having to be more focused. So traditional martial arts is really similar in that regard. For example, Taekwondo, there are a lot of great kicks in that, and not a lot of anything else, right? So, train in Taekwondo and, get your kicks up to a high level and, add that onto the rest of your mixed martial arts repertoire. That's a great tool to have, right? Train karate, learn, all that mental, physical toughness and the footwork and, how to put some power and pop and drive into your strikes. That's good stuff, right? You could say from every single traditional martial art, and even every combat sport outside of MMA, there are like 1, 2, 3 things that work immediately in mixed martial arts. And a lot of stuff that we can kind of work in later once we really understand how to fight. And then a lot of stuff we need to throw in the garbage. I saw a video recently, I forget who, but it was a Wing Chun instructor on YouTube, and he was talking about why Wing Chun doesn't work in a fight. And this is coming from a Wing Chun instructor who does this for a living. Kind of surprised me, because every Wing Chun instructor I know swears up and down Wing Chun is the best thing ever. And all you need is Wing Chun. And he said, Wing Chun doesn't work in a fight because of the way that people train it. Because people, they train these forms, all this hand movement and whatnot, and then they go into the fight expecting that to work, and it works against a guy using those forms on you. And in a cage fight, you're not going to fight a dude doing Wing Chun forms. He said that would be similar to a boxer, just using speed bag forms exactly the way that they're used on the speed bag, and then going into the boxing ring and doing this exact movement and expecting that to yield a win. Now, I love the speed bag, and there's a bunch of cool stuff from those speed bag forms that will translate into hand fighting and blocking and defense and even strikes and some really cool stuff for boxing. But we've got to translate those forms, because it's different when we apply it in real life, right? So I thought that was a great analogy, fantastic analogy. Again, if we go into a cage fight and, we're expecting our Taekwondo forms to win us that fight, it's not going to work that way, right? We got to translate the forms. So again, 2 or 3 things are going to work immediately. Everything else we're going to have to translate or throw away. But yeah, there is a lot of value in traditional martial arts in the fact that it gives us a very specific structure and focus and often limitations. And I think limitations are good. Just like the gi, it gives us certain limitations and forces us to expand our knowledge of movement and technique and whatnot in a way that we would not have done before. But of course, we can't have contrast without both sides. So when I was in college, I got a dance degree in modern dance. And if you don't know what that is, just look up a modern dance here on YouTube, modern contemporary dance. It's the weird stuff where you flow around, and there's no set syllabus of movement in modern dance, like there is in, say, classical ballet. In classical ballet, there's a very finite number of moves. You have to move your arms in a very specific fashion. You have to move your legs and your torso in a specific fashion, or it's not classical ballet. But modern, there's no set syllabus. Sure, there's technique, but it's much more open. So it's really analogous to mixed martial arts and traditional martial arts. Classical ballet being very similar to traditional martial arts in that regard, and modern dance being much more similar to mixed martial arts in that regard. If you look at the movement styles, 2 words you should know: indulgent movement, resistant movement. Grapplers and modern dancers tend to be indulgent in their movement. That means they fall, they give into gravity, they indulge into the gravitational pull of the earth. They tend to be much more relaxed in their movement. Whereas ballet dancers and traditional martial artists are much more rigid and stiff, resisting gravity, lifting themselves up. Stiff is probably a bit of a misnomer because, a lot of karate guys, Taekwondo guys are very loose and relaxed, but they're still very resistant in their movement style. They're lifting themselves up. They're resisting the floor, right? They're resisting those falling steps, if you will. So, as a modern dancer, studying this aspect of physical culture, part of the degree was to take ballet classes, classical ballet, character ballet, all those ballet classes. And why did we have to do that? Because, it's an opposite movement style. And I'll tell you, the same reason that traditional martial arts has value today in the pursuit of training mixed martial arts. 1, contrast. 2, structure. Because again, modern dance, much like mixed martial arts, is very unstructured in its nature. And so to give it structure, we often have to draw structure from other sources. So, to answer your first question, which is, does traditional martial arts have a place in the modern world where MMA is, it's the thing now? Yeah, it absolutely does. It absolutely does. 1, for the reasons that I just specified, and 2, not everybody wants or needs to be a cage fighter. If you love the sport of Taekwondo, for example, that's great. Do it. If you love judo, you never want to get in a cage fight, you just don't like ground fighting as much as you like throwing people, great, do that. If you like the martial art of Iado, pulling the sword out of the scabbard and then returning it to the scabbard. I mean, you're never going to win a cage fight with that, but if you like the focus and the meditation and the, the personal development or character development or whatever it is that martial art does for you, great. Do that. If you like Aikido and you don't like sparring and you honestly feel it's detrimental somehow to your soul, but you like learning the technique and understanding how the human body moves, that's great. Do that. And as long as we are honest about what our martial art is, that's fine. That's great. That's fantastic. And here in my gym, we actually offer a bunch of different martial arts. And yeah, there's mixed martial arts, Muay Thai, boxing, what else? Kickboxing, Taekwondo, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, Wing Chun. Yeah, there's a Wing Chun coach here. Also teaches, Filipino stick fighting, that sort of thing. And I don't do that, but, it's great that some people like doing that. Nothing wrong with that. Because one thing I love about the martial arts is that really there's something for everybody. Stuttering. There's something for everybody in martial arts. So, man, as far as martial arts go, find your why and run with that, man. And if your why is, I want to win cage fights, yeah, train to win cage fights. And yes, sometimes learning how to kick better, or punch better, or do karate better, or do judo better, or maybe even a Wing Chun or an Aikido technique you can incorporate into your game plan might be a good idea. Maybe not, that's up to you. Anyway, thanks for watching. Now get out there and train.